But we got to get to Joe Matarese, for God's sake.
He gave up.
I mean, if you want to talk, if you thought Joe Matarese was mailing it in before, then get ready for what we're about to play you. So if you haven't followed oh, by the way, Cardiff messaged me the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you caught this. When we showed him Joe Matarese, he was very intrigued by him.
Was he?
Yeah, he was like, oh, gee. He's like, I didn't know how deep this Joe Matarese stuff went.
I loved his breakdown of all of it. He's just like looking at
his fresh set of eyes. Yeah.
Yep.
So he messages me the other day, and I kind of so he says he's getting into the porcelain documentaries.
Oh yeah, he's full blown in now.
I feel like the guy that showed Elon Musk you could tweet GIFs. You know what I mean? Like where now Cardiff is just going to be like, I'm sponsoring Joe Matarese. Like, I've unleashed a monster, I think.
I think so. Peter Schickele all over again.
Yeah, but Cardiff is very intrigued by Joe Matarese, as are we.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't been following along with us, Matarese brought his podcast back and said it's totally going to be different now. I've got a format in mind. And then by week 2, he abandoned that format.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a slow descent into peeling. I say slow. I take that back. Rapid descent into peeling off any layers of a show that he had and just reverting back to what he was doing before. So Christmas comes. Now, I would say if you're going to take a vacation for Christmas, especially if you're pre-recording all your episodes, maybe just don't even bother starting your show in November. You know?
No shit.
Wait till January. If you're going to take what seems like a long vacation now that he's gearing us up for. So I have the intro of his most recent episode. He's had Chris Scopo on and some other lady that we talked about.
And he really should get David Collins to sing his intro for him.
Oh, yeah. I don't know why he's big-timing David Collins. Wouldn't leave him a voicemail.
That's true. He said he would.
I think it might be shell shock. He's been, abused so many times.
And he was right to think that way.
Well, no, he turned down the one man that was on his side.
That's true.
So I got a cold or something. I keep clearing my throat here. Yeah, so Joe Matarese puts out this intro the other day, and I'm the only person in America who cares about this. Joe Matarese is disappointing only me. I keep going and watching these episodes thinking he's going to grow as a broadcaster. And every week he's gotten more and more disappointing. And this is no exception.
Whoa. And there's no video. For anyone that's going to yell at me, that there's no video.
He'll explain why. Don't you worry.
Everybody, how are you out there? For a very, very, I guess this is a very special Joe Matarese show.
Let's think of why.
It's spoiler, it's not.
What would make it a special episode? I think a great guest, maybe.
Yeah, great guest. That would be huge.
Introducing like a co-host,
A permanent one.
or new segments of some kind. That could be fun. Changing formats, perhaps.
He yells at his other kid from now on.
Those would be special episodes. Or saying, I've decided to mail it in. That would also be a special episode.
Mm-hmm. It would be. He wouldn't do that to us, though.
No.
That it is just in audio form. We're not in studio.
Okay, well, listen, he's moving to audio for some reason. Why could that be? Because even if he's not in studio, he could still set up a laptop camera to talk to himself, right?
We've seen him do it for years.
That's strange. Why would this be audio only?
It's just me alone at home, and decided to put out some audio only episodes.
You decided to record some new audio only episodes. Okay. Well, that's interesting. At least we're getting fresh content here. That's good.
It's annoying that it's plural.
Well, that's my great. You've already picked up on what really grinds my gears about this.
And you could hear him to realize that he was about to lie. He goes, episode.
Yeah. So, okay, the Christmas break has come. And, well, we did this for Why You Laughing. We put an episode that was out only on Patreon for one of the episodes. And then made sure we pre-recorded the next two. But I tried to do that, not for the first 2 years of my podcast. I said, you know what? We can't go into best ofs and give old shit to people that's only a few months old. So, like, for the first year or two, I tried to make it all new content before I put out any Patreon content on the main feed. Joe lasted 8 weeks.
Actually, it was more like 3 days, just the way he records.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, he recorded all of these in like a week and then said, that's it. I'm good.
The first one that I'm doing. And the reason I'm doing it is I started
You're lazy.
looking at
You've given up.
libraries.
Just
I'm
admit
sorry.
it.
He's saying something. He and I are saying something different. I thought we were going to be in sync there. That's weird.
He doesn't know. We don't know that he's given up yet. He hasn't gotten to that part yet.
I'll go back a little bit. I thought he was about to say, because I'm putting no effort into this yet again.
Decided to put out some audio only episodes. And this is going to be the first one that I'm doing. And the reason I'm doing it is I started looking at libraries of old podcasts that I did. As you know, people rip on me for all.
Now, libraries, Craig, do you think that means he's actually going down to the Joe Matarese library and flipping through volumes of books to find these things? Or is he looking at the YouTube channel that he's currently posting this show on?
Well, he does have his wife's a doctor. I don't know if you knew this.
Yeah.
So they probably do have a library in their home.
Okay, so maybe that's where they keep it then. Maybe I'm sure, certainly, it's not the exact same YouTube channel that people could just search it if they wanted to listen to it. There's no way it's that.
No shot.
Ideas.
By the way, I know I said we did the same thing. That's not giving myself enough credit. That would be like if we put out just an episode again. Like if we were like, hey guys, here's the Rodney Dangerfield episode again. It's like, well, I could just search it the first time you posted it.
Some of them were pretty good. I gotta be honest. Stand Up, Lie Down with Dr. Keith Abloh. Pretty good idea.
Now, that is, if you watch the porcelain documentaries, one of the larger chunks of porcelain's bewilderment about Joe's decisions is the Dr. Keith Abloh podcast.
One. And Fixing Joe early on was the first podcast that I ever did. And I had some.
I have a feeling I know one episode
I was looking at.
Fixing Joe had one episode that mattered.
I can guess which episode this won't be that he's teasing.
And on my computer and listening to, and I was like, wow, I bet a lot of people never heard these. And wow, I had a lot of really.
And they still won't.
Nick West.
I believe last I checked, I believe this was up to 45 views. So no worries, Joe.
Nick West, $2. Over under 75% chance Joe's wife had multiple affairs.
Well, listen, I don't know about that. She
had
might
to
be the
read
most loyal woman on the planet.
It sounds like she is, because it doesn't sound like in the divorce she's, going to be the one on the street.
Right. Yeah, she could easily kick this guy out and not lose anything.
He seems like the type of guy that made her sign a prenup.
Oh, you know what? I'm wrong. I forget how. Maybe that's her fear. Is like he's going to take the house or something. Because he has nothing.
Well, I mean, that could be the plan, but he has no plan or strategy to keep it because he doesn't have income.
Right.
Or the house.
That show, and some of them have gotten big since then, because I'm guessing by this one
he's
that
resorted to lying now. Also,
I want to go to for this episode of the Joe Matarese Show. From the timeline, it looks like it wasn't that long after Bill Burr had that incident in Philadelphia on the Opie and Anthony comedy tour, the virus tour.
Okay, so here's what he's trying to pull. Joe said, "Oh, if I put Bill Burr's name in the title,
Correct.
I'm going to get a shit ton of views."
Correct.
Problem is, Joe doesn't realize that people aren't that stupid. Even the algorithm isn't that dumb. He's putting up an audio-only podcast from 2006.
Hold on, let me look. I gotta look up what he called this.
It's not titled well at all.
Yeah, number 10, the Joe Matarese Show. Guest Bill Burr from back in the day.
Right. So immediately people know, like, oh, okay, it's not new. Like, he's trying to fool people and can't even do that.
And I would say that his name in the title did not do wonders for his views.
How many views?
306.
Oh, okay, all right. Hey, right on par with all of his other episodes, I guess. How much longer does Joe do this podcast? Well, better question: how many audio episodes does he put out?
See, that was what I was thinking. I was thinking maybe he does 2 because of the 2 holidays, and then he gets back to it. That
I'm
would
hoping
make
that's what it is. I'm
that would
hoping
make
that's
sense, and I'll let that slide.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out this week, see if he's back this coming week.
Was getting
Yeah, this
booed
is
off
rough.
stage, and then he heckled them back, and it became this huge, unbelievably popular viral video.
Okay, so here's what Joe's tactics. Here's how little Joe thinks of us, the audience.
We don't
He's
know.
like, listen, he's advertising this like, listen, I got Bill Burr right after this happened. You know, we did a bonus episode of Why You Laughing About It. Maybe I'll release it in 6 years. But we talked about Bill Burr first popped, and I think a little too much is made of how famous he got just from that video.
Right.
Like, he also put out some amazing specials after that. But
I think that had more to do with it.
yeah, but like that was a viral video for him, kind of before that was a very regular thing that videos were going viral. So Joe's saying, listen, I got Bill Burr. I got the scoop. Right after this happened, I got Bill Burr on. And he's kind of ignoring the fact that it was almost 20 years ago. So Bill Burr has told this story so much so that he won't talk about it anymore.
I guarantee in this they don't talk about it that much, and Bill's
They
like,
didn't really. I listened to a little bit of it.
He probably goes, yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
That's fucking whatever, man. Well, here's the greatness of Joe. Is he's like, hey, Bill, you historically bombed. Instead of talking about that, I bombed at an Italian restaurant the other night. Kind of the same thing, right? I guess he said his video went viral because he had a heckler or something. And he's like, me and you, Bill, samesies.
Bill's like, I was in a stadium.
kind of the same thing. You know, you were in Breaking Bad, and I know Sebastian Maniscalco. They're the same guy.
Scorsese.
In the midst of being booed, and how hilarious it was. And he was the first guest that I ever had on Fixing Joe, and I had him on.
And Matt, listen, and so many opportunities I squandered after that, but this was the first.
I used to be in a position where I could get guests like this.
He's just reminding us how far he's fallen.
Guys, I used to get Bill Burr. Now I got Chris Scopo. Chris Scopo, by the way.
I was going to come up with throw a shitty analogy out there. You talked about the grim reality of what is happening. I used to get Bill Burr on. Now I'm going to get Chris Scopo, and he's going to go on Luis Gomez's podcast and mock me.
At very least, not have my back.
I had just got fired from a comedy club in Hartford, Connecticut, which is pretty classic because I'm doing that club.
Yeah. So I bet what we can do now is listen to how crazy it is that Bill Burr and Joe Matarese were heckled 20 years ago. Look at their careers now. Oh, I guess Joe's isn't that different. Like, Joe's kind of doing this thing, like the dichotomy of our careers. It's crazy.
I will be there. So.
My wife also flipped off Trump.
Is this flipping off the TV? It's the same thing, Bill.
My wife says I can't work with Anthony Cumia either, just because I'm bothering too much.
Hey, Bill, my wife's pretty tan.
She says, quit calling that poor man. He had heart surgery. Kind of the same thing.
Fired way back when. And if I have to put the timeline together exactly, as I just did a tiny bit of research here.
Research is the real through line of today's episode.
I was just going to say that.
Joe's doing research into when he posted his podcast. Look at the date.
2006. So the podcast was probably somewhere in the year range after it. So,
so it wasn't right after.
I'm sorry. That's me not doing my research again. I'm sorry. After Bill had talked about it ad nauseum. He was on Joe Matarese's podcast.
I think Bill Burr saw this. He was like, "What the fuck you doing?"
Joe put out. So I guess. Well, you know what? To Bill's credit, he shouted out Matarese on a podcast recently.
Did he?
And he was like, "Oh, I haven't seen that guy in years." He said he was really funny. He said he liked Joe as a comic. And then, of course, Matarese, a 55-year-old man, clips that and puts it out as a short on his own channel. He's like, Bill talked about me.
God.
First fixing.
That's what I did, by the way. I did that when Matt and Shane talked about me. And I was like 28.
You don't come across,
and
like,
I'd never done anything. Like,
No.
Matarese is friends with these guys.
You can still do that because you're not coming across like you're on the same level as them.
Well, not even coming across. Like, Matarese was on the same level as these guys. And just watching, vroom, he's like at a NASCAR race, watching him zip by him.
Where you going?
Bill, slow down.
Dirty Irish bastard.
2007, 2000.
I'm here with Mike Albanese. And you're putting out Netflix movies.
Can I say your name? Yeah, Mike Albanese.
How much more of this is left?
Minute 20.
All right, let Joe wrap it up.
Latest. So, wow. Okay. So this is 2 years into my marriage, and I get fired at the Hartford.
It is 2 years into my marriage. There was still hope in her eyes. She thought, well, certainly he won't bungle this opportunity. Man, those were good days.
Comedy Club.
She wasn't 2 years into the marriage. She wasn't exhausted by me yet.
Yeah, 2 years in, she went, "Oh fuck."
2 years in, she was probably still kind of like, okay, I wonder if this career is going somewhere.
He knows Bill Burr, so I'll stick around.
Yeah, it seems like that guy's going places.
This is 2 years into my marriage, and I get fired at the Hartford Comedy Club, City Steam, for yelling at hecklers. I think 2 shows in a row. I went off on people, and got.
So you telling me that place didn't like you screaming at their patrons?
He also kind of spoiled the whole episode. Just telling us what happened.
You guys obviously all heard it.
Fired, and I thought Bill Burr should be the first guest for the Fixing Joe, and I was feeling really raw, very kind of shitty, and had Bill Burr on to try to fix me back then.
He's also a phoner, by the way. Bill Burr's on the phone.
And getting fired from a comp.
This is a phoner.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's posting a phone call with Bill Burr.
That's tough.
Which, like, hey, but here's the thing I would say to Joe. If those aren't online already or whatever, by all means, post them. And say, hey, this is an old interview I did with Bill Burr. Like, that's totally fine. It's not an episode of your new podcast where you very clearly stated, I'm doing everything different.
So
and then week by week started doing everything the same. And now you're just throwing your hands up and saying, not only am I going to do what I was doing, I'm just going to post what I was doing.
Stud Joe Stanley, member for 3 months. More Kill Tony coverage, please. Rick Dietz got robbed.
Oh, the big live show, the big New Year's show.
I didn't see it.
I'll have to check it out. I listen to Kill Tony sometimes. I wouldn't say we cover Kill Tony a lot. Pretty much just when Ric Flair gets up and walks off. But
Right, and gets pissed off at everyone making fun.
yeah, but I could see if there's anything worth covering in that whole debacle. Him
Cortez.
versus Kim, I think.
Yes. Cortez gifted one blind Mike Project membership.
Oh, thank you, buddy.
Oh,
Yeah, feel free to gift those memberships. Give them to people that don't want them. That's always fun.
there is 45 seconds left in this, and I'm convinced we can do it.
Yeah, we'll get through this.
Comedy Club, and it hadn't been the first time that I got fired. from a comedy club for yelling at hecklers. So I was like,
Wouldn't be the last.
I can't get fired at my jobs. So I wanted to play you this, but I just wanted to give a little monologue at the beginning, what you're about to hear. So I had Bill Burr.
You know, so I could tell myself I'm doing an episode.
I want you guys to hear me tell you exactly what you're about to hear.
I wanted to put a little opening monologue in here so I could lie to myself and pretend I've done some work for the week.
I'm going to cover everything I do in the next 30 minutes in this 4.
This is Bill Burr on a very old and first Fixing Joe in, like I said, 2007, 2008. If you are a huge Bill Burr fan, you'll probably like this. So take a listen, and I'll recap. I'm going to actually listen to it live with you guys. Here it is. Bill Burr, Fixing Joe, 2007, we'll say.
So let's take TV, for example.
Listen live.
So Kevin James did a show that I enjoy called King of Queens. You're familiar?
I'm also a fan.
Now, he also did a show called Kevin Can Wait, also on CBS, years later.
Same show.
That a lot of people, well, it's funny you say that, Craig. A lot of people say it was the same show.
Mm-hmm.
But what would really be the same show is if by episode 9, Kevin James was like, you know what? Just put a fucking King of Queens episode out. No one's going to notice. No one gives a shit. What do you mean Jerry Stiller's dead? They'll never notice.
You don't mean it.
Who cares?
Why is this brainier looking?
So my point is, give guys like Kevin James credit. They may do the same things over and over again, but not literally. The way Joe is here.
Tough look.
Oh, Joe, you just can't get out of your own way. It's tough to watch. But we love you, buddy. We're rooting for you.
We believe in you. You can do it.
Yeah.